Welcome back to my Philadelphia Eagles franchise here on Madden 23. We have officially wrapped up 6 seasons of this franchise. We are getting ready to go into the next offseason after winning the Super Bowl 73-20. I have no idea what took over this team starting in the NFC Championship game. The wild card we only won by 15, in the divisional round we won by 5. And then we completely demolished Detroit in the NFC Championship 45-3. And then, like I just said, we beat the Colts in the Super Bowl 73-20. Now, this was a bit of a revenge game because they did beat us a couple Super Bowls ago, but I think that was a little bit unnecessary. For team rankings at the end of the season, we finished as the number 4 offense in the league and the number 16 defense, but like I just showed, the defense stepped up big in the last couple games, helping us get those wins. Franchise quarterback Glenn McCutcheon, who has gone to the Super Bowl in every single year of his career, took a small step back this year, not too far of a step back though. He goes 5,500 yards as opposed to 5,700 last season, 47 touchdowns and 12 interceptions compared to last year 49 and 11, and then completion percentage he was 1% lower. At the start of the season, I did trade for running back Breece Hall. He comes in with a little under 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns, averaging about 63 yards a game. A.J. Brown, in his 9th year in the league, gets 97 receptions for 1,400 yards and 9 touchdowns. Devontae Smith, 89 receptions for 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. Rookie wide receiver Jonathan Stern, 78 catches, 900 yards and 10 scores. Dallas Goedert got 5. Our first round pick wasn't as good as our second round pick in Jonathan Stern, but Jermaine Powell still played pretty well with 3 touchdowns. Backup tight end Teddy Austin also caught 3, Breece Hall caught 1, Juan Jeffries got 1, Brian Ford got 3, and Grant Calcaterra caught 2. Leading the team in tackles this season is Nakobe Dean with 136. Tackles for loss goes to Thomas Daniels, our star defensive tackle. And with sacks, we got 12 from Thomas Daniels, 9 from Josh Sweat, 5 from Spencer Hilton, 3 from Jordan Davis, 1 from Nakobe Dean, 1 from Kamani Jenkins, and 1 from Harrison Phillips. At interceptions, it looks like Nakobe Dean led the team with 6 of them. Sean Murphy-Bunting got 4, Earl Hayden got 3, CJ Gardner-Johnson with 2, Caleb Farley with 2, and James Conley with 1. This was only the second season during this franchise where Josh Sweat did not hit double-digit sacks. He got 9 in 2022, then in 2023 he got 18, then 11.5, 16, 12, and then obviously this season ended up with 9. On the other hand though, Thomas Daniels, our replacement for Fletcher Cox, ended up with 12 sacks, a career high this year. And this was by far the best year of Nakobe Dean's career so far, a career high in tackles, tackles for loss, and interceptions. Looking at the past season since we got A.J. Brown, obviously this franchise started in the 2022 season. He ended up with 8 touchdowns, then 13, then 9, 9, 15, and 9. So this season was pretty much just on par, but he did not hit 100 receptions. Devontae Smith seems to be doing about the same thing every year. This year ended up with 89 catches, which is one of the lowest ones. Obviously 82 and 85 are lower than that, but 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. But that was the first time he broke double-digit touchdowns since the first season of this franchise. This does look to be the worst year for Dallas Goedert since we have started this franchise. A low in reception since we started. In 2021, he caught less passes, but 62 ties the lowest so far back from a couple seasons ago. The lowest in yards, and then touchdowns, he only got 5, which is definitely a step back from getting 9 last season. There were a total of 6 quarterbacks to throw for over 5,000 yards this season, and Trevor Lawrence actually broke Glenn McCutcheon's record. Last season, Glenn McCutcheon throws for 5,791 yards and breaks the record. Trevor Lawrence comes in and beats that by 3 yards this season. The quarterback in Chicago, Nick Perry, also goes over 5,000 yards. McCutcheon, Donnell Roth, these two are from the same draft class. I know I mention that every time. He goes for 5,200 yards. Teddy Bridgewater over 5,000 yards in Seattle. And Josh Allen over 5,000 yards still in Buffalo. 4 touchdowns, that goes to Glenn McCutcheon with 47 of them. Josh Allen got 46. Trevor Lawrence with 44. Same with Patrick Mahomes. And interceptions, Tua down in Miami throws 27 picks. That is insane. What about completion percentage? For someone who actually got a decent amount of playing time, it looks to be Lamar Jackson. I think it's Lamar Jackson almost every season, but he completed 70% of his passes. It looks like J.K. Dobbins led the league in most rushing attempts with 307 touches, and yards, that goes to Ezekiel Elliott. Touchdowns goes to Najee Harris with 22. And let's see if we can find who led the league for like most yards per carry. That is going to be Najee Harris or Ezekiel Elliott right behind him. Leading the league in receptions is Gabriel Davis in Chicago with 122 catches, and yards is Stephon Diggs with 1,700, and touchdowns is also Stephon Diggs with 22 of them. Tremaine Edmonds and Quay Walker both lead the league in tackles with 141 apiece. Miles Jack is right behind them with 140. In sacks goes to Myles Garrett with 25.5, TJ Watt with 18, Micah Parsons and Max Crosby with 15.5. And it looks like Steven Hambrick, a fourth-year player in Buffalo, got 15 as well. Leading the league in interceptions is a four-way tie between Nakobe Dean, I'm not going to try to say your name, Ben Weatherspoon, a rookie cornerback for the Bills, and Trayvon Diggs also ended up with 6. This season, Jake Elliott was the most accurate kicker in the league that actually attempted a decent amount here. He attempted 29 field goals, which actually leads the league here. We also ended up getting our contract extended. I believe we've gotten it extended every year. There hasn't been a season where we did not make the Super Bowl yet. Obviously, I'm not going to leave the Eagles in this franchise, but now we can look at the yearly awards. The NFL MVP goes to Josh Allen. Glenn McCutcheon ended up second in voting. That would have been McCutcheon's second in a row had he won. And Coach of the Year goes to us, head coach Cameron Knight. The way I typically do this part is I look through all of the AFC awards first, and then we go through the NFC so we can see if we get any of our guys. But the AFC Offensive Player of the Year goes to Stephon Diggs. Defensive Player of the Year is Myles Garrett. Not a shock there. Offensive Rookie of the Year is Dakota Combs for the Titans. Defensive Rookie of the Year is that defensive back in Buffalo. Not a shock at all with 6 interceptions. Best quarterback goes to Josh Allen. Best running back is Najee Harris. Best wide receiver, Stephon Diggs. Best O-line is Trey Smith for the Chiefs. Best D-line is Myles Garrett. Best linebacker is TJ Watt. Best defensive back is, once again, not going to try to pronounce your name. That rookie got second though. And best kicker is Tyler Bass for the Titans. The NFC Offensive Player of the Year goes to Ezekiel Elliott. I don't see any Eagles on this list yet. There's one. Glenn McCutcheon finished 8th in that. And then it looks like Caleb Lacey, a former receiver for us, finished 9th. That's actually pretty shocking. Defensive Player of the Year goes to Nakobe Dean. And then Thomas Daniels got 3rd. Any other Eagles on this list? No. All right. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to wide receiver Jonathan Stern. I love to see that. Tremaine Powell ended up with 5th. And then Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Taylor Woods for the Rams. I don't think we had any rookies starting on defense, so no one shows up there. Best quarterback goes to Kyler Murray. Glenn McCutcheon gets 2nd there. That really sucks considering McCutcheon was 2nd in MVP voting, but whatever. Best running back goes to Ezekiel Elliott. Any of our guys get there. Breece Hall finished 8th. Best wide receiver goes to Deebo Samuel. Any of our guys make this list. It looks like AJ Brown finished 9th. Best offensive line goes to Evan Steffo. Well, at least our lineman won that one. No other lineman on this list, though. Best D-line goes to Thomas Daniels. Josh Sweat got 5th. And no one else. Best linebacker goes to Micah Parsons. Nakobe Dean won Defensive Player of the Year for the NFC side, but doesn't win Best Linebacker. All right, that makes a lot of sense. And then Best Defensive Back goes to Trayvon Diggs. Sean Murphy-Bunting is 5th on this list. Earl Hayden does not make the list, though. And then best kicker goes to Jack Hall for the Saints. So the most accurate kicker in the league does not win best kicker. Here is your 2027 season recap, and you can see the Super Bowl MVP actually went to defensive end Spencer Hilton. I probably would have given it to Glenn McCutcheon because he had like 4 or 5 touchdowns. He had an amazing day. Spencer Hilton did get a defensive touchdown though, and the game typically favors that. The NFL MVP goes to Josh Allen. Coach of the Year goes to Michael Gray for the Bears, even though it said we won that. Whatever. Offensive Player of the Year is Stephon Diggs for the Bills. Defensive Player of the Year is Myles Garrett. Offensive Rookie of the Year is Jonathan Stern, and Defensive Rookie of the Year is Ben Weatherspoon, that defensive back for the Bills. Because we are so deep into this franchise, this is, I believe, episode 91 as we get ready for season 7. I want to scroll through here and show you guys that we have literally made every single Super Bowl in this series. In season 1, we lost by 3. I would then replace Jalen Hurts with Glenn McCutcheon. 2023, we would then win the Super Bowl against the Chargers. 2024, we beat the Bengals 42-28 for our second straight Super Bowl. We would then go to 2 in a row and lose as we lost to the Colts 32-13. And then in 2026, we lost to the Chiefs 43-24. But then we come back and completely demolish the Colts by 53 points. Before I really get into the offseason, I don't generally show this screen, but I want to show you guys that we don't have a first round pick for this year. I believe it was the trade for Breece Hall, but we do have a second round pick from Cincinnati. We don't have our own second round pick either. We do have a third round pick from the Raiders, and then our own third round pick, our own fourth round pick, a 5th round pick from the Panthers, a 5th round pick of our own, a 6th round pick, and a 7th round pick of our own. We also have $37 million in cap space, but only 13 players are ready to negotiate. I tried to negotiate all of the big contracts during the season, but there are going to be some big names here that we may not be able to bring back. Defensive end Josh Sweat, he's 31 years old. He does have a lot of re-sign interest. We may throw him a contract. Evan Stefa, who just won Best Offensive Lineman in the NFC side, has really no interest in coming back here. I don't really know why. We'll look at that later. CJ Gardner-Johnson's contract is up. He's 30 years old. He only had a couple picks last season. I'm probably going to let him walk rather than sign him to a big contract. Running back Brian Ford has a lot of interest to come back, so we'll definitely be trying to bring him back. Caleb Fairley, I'm probably going to let him free agency. I did the same thing last year. Brought him back in on a 1-year deal, and he played pretty well, but we're not going to re-sign him right now. Running back Kennedy Brooks has been with us the entire time, has never had any re-sign interest. He always goes to free agency, and I always bring him back as a backup. Halfback Dalvin Charles has no interest. He came in for us in the NFC Championship game and played really well for us, but he has no interest in coming back. Safety Adrian Amos has all the interest in coming back, but he's a backup safety. Don't know yet if I'm going to bring him in. Left guard Mike Bernard, defensive back Dante Jackson, wide receiver Juan Jeffries is one I definitely want to attempt to bring back. He's been with us a majority of this series. Still has 99 speed, I believe. We'll check his ratings. Tight end Grant Calcaterra, we're probably going to let walk. Defensive tackle Perrion Winfrey, just a backup. Defensive back Trey Brown, who's a 70 overall, and defensive end Harrison Phillips are probably all going to be gone here, but let me go ahead and go through and see if there's anyone I want to bring back right now. It looks like Juan Jeffries still has all of his speed, 99 speed, 96 acceleration. We will try to bring him back on a pretty cheap deal. I'm perfectly fine with this neutral offer that the game has come up with. 2 years, $3.5 million. I think that's about what he's worth. He's a solid role player. He's come in and made a couple nice catches in his career. So we'll offer that contract, and he is happy to re-sign and continue to play for this great organization. We're also going to offer this 2-year contract to running back Kennedy Brooks. Like I said, he's been a pretty solid backup for us this entire series, so we'll try to bring him back, and he's going to test free agency. I'll probably end up bringing him back anyway, like I have before. I want to negotiate a contract with defensive tackle Perrion Winfrey, but it won't let me. It says it's locked out because negotiate in week 11. Obviously, we are way past week 11. Maybe it's because I signed him in the playoffs. We may look to bring him back in free agency, but I can't offer him a contract right now. I am going to offer this contract to right guard Evan Stefa. I've had to offer him the player-friendly contract. He apparently wants to be in a warm weather state, which is the main reason he's not interested in coming back. Obviously, warm weather state would not be Pennsylvania. He does also have some motivations for historic championships and Super Bowl chase, though. So we are the league favorite. We've obviously won 3 Super Bowls since you've gotten here. So let's offer this contract, and he is going to be testing free agency. So we may need to get a new guard. The last contract I'm going to offer here is defensive end Josh Sweat. I'm going to offer a team-friendly deal. I'm going to hope he takes this. He does have a bit of interest in coming back. If we can't get him back here, I will obviously go after him in free agency. But Josh Sweat is going to be testing out free agency. Now, everyone else, I am not even going to offer a contract. Obviously, I tried to bring back Josh Sweat and Evan Stefa. CJ Gardner-Johnson, 30 years old, no re-sign interest. We'll look in free agency. Brian Ford, we're not going to pay right now. We may bring him back, but I want to see what my other options are to be a backup running back to Breece Hall. And then we have Caleb Farley. Once again, may try to bring him back in free agency. Kennedy Brooks refused to sign. Dalvin Charles, I also can't negotiate with him. Adrian Amos is 35. We're not going to bring him back right now. Left guard Mike Bernard, I might need to look at bringing back. Defensive back Dante Jackson, 75 overall. Just going to let him walk right now. Grant Calcaterra, no re-sign interest. Perrion Winfrey, I can't offer a contract. Trey Brown's 30 years old, 70 overall. We'll see if there are other depth corners in free agency. And then defensive end Harrison Phillips. But let me go back over here and talk to Mike Bernard. Will you take a 1-year deal here? And Bernard is excited to sign such a great offer. Let's go down this list and see some people that have retired. Hassan Reddick retires after 11 years. Teddy Bridgewater retires after a great season in Seattle, throwing over 5,000 yards. Tyler Lockett has retired. Calvin Ridley, Eric Armstead, Deion Dawkins, Trent Brown, Taylor Decker. Carson Wentz did retire as one of our backup quarterbacks in Philadelphia. Shaq Thompson has retired. Leo Collins, DeForest Buckner, Joe Tooney. DeMarcus Lawrence retires as a Charger. So does Austin Eckler. Alex Kappa retires. Mike Evans has retired as a Buccaneer. So is Shaq Mason, Dalton Reisner, Stephon Diggs. And then you got guys like Grady Jarrett, Andrew Van Ginkel. And I'm just going to scroll down here and see any big names. Brandon Cooks, Allen Robinson, James Bradbury, former Eagle. Taylor Heineke has retired. Most of these guys just didn't end up on a team and have decided to retire after the season. Nelson Aguilar has retired, Jimmy Garoppolo has retired, Ryan Tannehill, Javon Hargrave, let's see, Tim Patrick, Robbie Anderson, or Chosen Anderson, however you want to call him, Rashad Penny, who is a new Philadelphia Eagle in real life, Ronald Darby, former Philadelphia Eagle, Chase Edmonds, Jayon Curse, Morgan Fox, Blake Cashman. That is all of the retirements for this year. I don't typically go through the entire roster before free agency in these videos, but I kind of feel like doing it this time. Obviously, we have quarterback Glenn McCutcheon. We won't be looking for a new quarterback. At running back, we do have Breece Hall. I might be looking for a backup, but we do have Keith Dalton as a backup running back. I may bring back Kennedy Brooks just to take some carries away from Breece Hall here, so he's not getting every carry in every game. But we did draft Keith Dalton in the 5th round last year. Then at wide receiver, we have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jonathan Stern, Tremaine Powell, and Juan Jeffries. Our receiver room is incredible. Then at tight end, we have Dallas Goedert, who still is not retired. I didn't think he would retire this season, but I knew it was a possibility. And then his backup in Teddy Austin, who we drafted a few seasons ago. At left tackle, we still have Jordan Mailata in his 10th year. Landon Dickerson's going into his 8th year as a 90 overall. At center, we have Gabe Barnett and Grant Rogan. If I can't get a decent right guard back, I believe Rogan can move over and play right guard. At right guard, we have a 79 overall in Levi Wesley. At right tackle, we have a 92 overall in Mekhi Becton, backed up by Kyle Robinson. Now, Kyle Robinson could also move over to right guard if I really needed him to. On the defensive side of the ball, we have Spencer Hilton. Now, you're about to see a lot of higher ratings than they actually are. Hilton is usually an 80 overall. He has a +9 to his overall right now, so it's showing he's an 89. He won't be at the start of the next season. We do not have a left end on the roster, so that's a little bit interesting. Defensive tackle, we have Jordan Davis, Thomas Daniels, Sean Brown, Kamani Jenkins. I'm really comfortable with all of the defensive tackles we have. Outside linebacker, we have John Herrera, who's going into his 3rd year. Once again, he is boosted right now, but it shows he's an 88 overall, backed up by Mark Collins. Middle linebacker, we have Nakobe Dean and George Burns. Right outside linebacker, we have Kevin Payton. At corner, we have Earl Hayden, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and then a pretty big drop-off from there. Now, I'm definitely going to need to get some backup corners this year, and Earl Hayden is now a higher rating than Sean Murphy-Bunting, which I honestly did not expect. At free safety, we have James Conley, who is still pretty solid. Theo Norwood is his backup. And at strong safety, we have Joe Fields. We are definitely going to need to look at safety in either free agency or the draft. At kicker, we have Jake Elliott, who is a 79 overall. He's still doing fine, was just the most accurate kicker in the league. And at punter, we have Scott Eaton. This may not be a popular decision, but wide receiver A.J. Brown, if we traded him, would save $14.2 million in cap space. So I'm really looking at that. Also, Sean Murphy-Bunting. They're both older. I think we're about to transition into a point where we really need to get younger talent to put around Glenn McCutcheon, because A.J. Brown is a $23 million cap hit next season. Obviously, we'll eat a $9.5 million penalty, but we do clear $14 million off the books. Here is where I am looking at sending A.J. Brown. Their number 1 receiver is Chase Claypool, but here is the reason I am looking at sending him there. Their quarterback is his best friend in Jalen Hurts, still their starting quarterback right now at a 73 overall. We have officially traded A.J. Brown to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We also sent a 5th round pick in this draft because we had 2 of them. We end up getting a 1st round pick and a 2nd round pick in the draft. I know this is not going to be a popular decision, but he's 31 years old. Like I said, it saves a ton of cap space. We still have some really good receivers in Devontae Smith, Jonathan Stern, and Tremaine Powell. I think can develop into a pretty solid receiver, and there may be someone in the draft I want, or possibly someone in free agency. With that trade going through though, we now have $42 million in cap space headed into free agency. The 5 contracts I have offered now here in free agency are going to be to defensive end Josh Sweat, who is the best available overall wise player in free agency. We're going to try to bring him back. Wide receiver Doug Sutton has 99 speed, 99 acceleration. He's 6'1", 182 pounds. He looks to be a pretty solid receiver, and I think he could really help out this team. I've also tried to bring back running back Dalvin Charles, 92 speed, 94 acceleration, has some of the highest catching in this free agency class. Also trying to bring in strong safety Marquise Terrell. I don't know if he's going to be the starter, but he's better than what we have on the roster right now. And then obviously Kennedy Brooks. Now let's see if any of these guys are going to take these offers. And they have been submitted. We do not get Dalvin Charles, but we get Sweat, Sutton, Terrell, and Kennedy Brooks. For the next stage, obviously we still have Dalvin Charles here. I've upped his offer just a little bit to try to get him to sign, but I've also added defensive back Telvin McDonald. And if we go over here, I can show you his stats: 92 speed, 91 acceleration, 84 man coverage, and 73 play rec, 83 awareness. All of those are pretty much better than Caleb Farley, except the speed. I think Farley or Fairley had 95 speed, but we're going to go ahead and advance to the next stage, and neither one of them signed, and now we have more competition here, but no more competition for Dalvin Charles. I upped the offer for McDonald. Charles is still here, but let's advance to the next stage, and Charles is still waiting, but we now have Telvin McDonald, so I really like the way our secondary looks. Outside of strong safety, we're pretty good right now. Advancing to the next week, running back Dalvin Charles does sign his contract, so that will wrap up our entire free agency class, and I'm really glad with what we got. Defensive end Josh Sweat, defensive back Telvin McDonald, wide receiver Doug Sutton, running back Dalvin Charles, safety Marquise Terrell, and running back Kennedy Brooks. I keep bringing back Kennedy Brooks just because I like having him every season. I don't really know why. Maybe it's my Oklahoma bias because I am a Sooners fan. Most of these guys are obviously auto-generated as well, but I want to take a look at Doug Sutton's stats here. Sutton does come in, as I showed you guys earlier, with 99 speed and 99 acceleration, 83 catching usually, 81 catch in traffic. He really is a solid deep route and medium route running. Short routes, not really his thing. 83 spectacular catch, 82 release usually, and 96 agility with 89 jumping. And I believe he is 6'1". He should be a pretty solid addition to this team. Let's take a look to see where some of these top free agents went. Obviously, we ended up with Josh Sweat coming back. Saquon Barkley has left the Giants. We no longer have to worry about him. He is headed to Jacksonville. We do have to worry about James Robinson now, though. He is headed to Dallas at a 90 overall. Evan Steffa, I tried to bring him back, but no interest. There were a lot of teams offering him deals, and obviously you can see the motivations there. Is nearly a full bar, so he is headed to Tampa Bay. CJ Gardner-Johnson is headed to Miami. Deron Payne is a Raven. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire is also a Raven, and then a superstar depth trait tight end, Kelvin Fulcher, goes to the 49ers. Occasionally, I will show some of the earlier mock drafts, but I really didn't need to this season because we did not have a first-round pick until I traded A.J. Brown. But we have picked 20 here, so we can look at the mock draft. Let's go all the way down here, see who we are projected to take. We are expected to take running back Chad Leach out of Texas. I don't see that happening, honestly. Now we get to jump into the NFL draft, one of my favorite parts of the offseason. It might be my favorite part, at least whenever I draft well. But with the number 1 pick, the Miami Dolphins are going to take left end Addison Sharp out of Notre Dame. With the number 2 pick, the Broncos take left tackle Demetrius Bolden out of Tennessee. The Vikings, with the 3rd pick, are going to take quarterback Bobby Colbert out of Houston. I'm really curious to see how good he is. He was projected as like the number 1 prospect all season. At pick 4, the Saints are going to take a defensive end out of Notre Dame and Simon Walford. And with pick 5, the 49ers take a left tackle out of Notre Dame. Did Notre Dame just get 3 picks in the top 5? That is insane. The Chargers, with pick 6, are going to take a right tackle out of Boston College. Now, I could be wrong about that Notre Dame stat. I could have completely and totally forgot already what some of those colleges were. But at pick 7, the Titans, with back-to-back picks, is that what just happened? They take a defensive end out of Colorado. At pick 8, the Giants take a right tackle out of Oklahoma. There is a lot of right tackles going here. With pick 9, the Texans take a defensive back out of California. And with the 10th pick in the draft, the Falcons are going to take outside linebacker Kendall Gold out of LSU. I don't typically simulate all the way till my pick, but there are a few players here that I think might be gone by my pick that I'm really looking at. So let's just go ahead and simulate them from here. Pick 11, the Packers take defensive end Max Bolden. Not what I was looking at, even though I should probably be looking at more defensive ends. Wide receiver Clyde Harper out of Oklahoma State goes to our division rival in Washington. At pick 13, the Raiders take a defensive end out of Penn State. He was actually projected to go in the top 5, so Nolan Craig has fallen a little bit. At pick 14, the Panthers take another right tackle, this one out of Oregon State. At pick 15, Jacksonville is going to take left end Anthony Overton out of Washington State. The Cardinals, with the 16th pick, take wide receiver Paul Fulton. That was one guy I was looking at. If I remember to, I definitely want to see how good he was. With pick 17, the Browns are going to take a right end out of Georgia. With pick 18, the Jets take a defensive back out of Virginia. And with pick 19, there's one more defensive back that I possibly want. So let me see if there's anyone else on the board I would be okay with taking. Because at pick 19, the Seahawks were mocked to take the corner that I was actually looking at here. So let me go look at him and see if there's anyone else I'd be willing to draft. This is the corner that I was looking at drafting. Defensive back Carlos Westbrook out of Buffalo. He's 6'3", 185, A catching, B man coverage, A press. He is decently fast. He has solid speed. C awareness, D play rec though, that is a little bit concerning. But a lot of his other ratings are really good, but let me make sure, like I've said now like 3 times, that there is no one else that I want here. There is strong safety Kadeem Kitchens out of Oklahoma, and no, this is not just my Oklahoma bias coming through. He is one of the fastest safeties in his class. He has B awareness, B man coverage, B play rec, A catching, A hit power, B tackle. I'm really liking Kadeem Kitchens. We don't have a great strong safety on the roster. I think we can wait on corners, so I think I'm going to allow Seattle to make their pick, and hopefully I get one of these 2 guys. With the 19th pick in the 2028 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks are going to take defensive back Carlos Westbrook. Now, safety Kadeem Kitchens is most likely going to be the pick here, but I want to make sure that there's no one else here that I would really want or need. I looked through some of the trades, but I'm afraid to trade down because a couple of the teams need strong safeties. So I think we're just going to go back up here. We're going to take Kadeem Kitchens out of Oklahoma. He is a scheme fit. Like I showed you earlier, good speed, solid ratings. We're going to take Kadeem Kitchens, and he will be a hidden depth trait. You will not be wearing number 46 though, so get that out of your head. Not that anyone important for Philadelphia at the top of my mind has ever worn 46. It's not retired. It's just an ugly number, so I'm not going to have my guys wear it. Before I make my second round pick, I want to see how good either one of these players would actually be at guard. So we're going to start with right tackle Kyle Robinson, who is generally an 80 overall right tackle. We move him over to guard, and then we go over here to his ratings, and he becomes an 82 overall guard. The next one up is center Grant Rogan. He is usually a 79 overall center. He does have a star dev trait. I think as of right now though, it's really looking like it's going to be Kyle Robinson, but we'll try Grant Rogan here. Move him over to right guard, and if I can manage to click on the right buttons, he is an 80 overall guard. Gabe Barnett is our highest rated center. I try to start Grant Rogan more at center because of the star dev trait, but let's see exactly what this man would be as a guard. So as a center right now, he is going to be an 81 overall. If we move him over to guard, he becomes an 83 overall guard, but not a scheme fit. The agile part is the scheme fit for our guards, and he is a 69 overall for that. Heading back over to Kyle Robinson, he is an agile player, so that will be a scheme fit for us. We're going to go in and make him our starting right guard for right now. We're using him to replace Evan Stefa. I know we have James Conley, who is still a pretty solid safety, but we're going to take free safety AJ Jackson to be his backup here in the second round. Maybe he can develop into a little bit. He is a really fast safety, comes in with B awareness, B catching, C pursuit. I don't really know his coverage set, so this is a pretty risky pick, but we're going to take AJ Jackson, and he will be a normal dev trait. With our second pick in the second round, I'm going to take defensive end Kerry D. Carvalho out of BYU. B finesse move, C tackle. He had a pretty solid combine here, so we're going to go ahead and take him, and he will come in as a normal dev trait as well. In the third round here, I'm going to take outside linebacker Zach McKinley out of Navy. He comes in with C block shedding and C pursuit. He is not really the type of linebacker I generally look for in this scheme, but he is incredibly fast. I'm going to see what he would do as an edge rusher, so moving him over to left end or right end. But we're going to take Zach McKinley, who will also be a normal dev trait. I am not going to have a fantastic draft apparently. This will probably not be a very popular pick with the fans here, but I'm going to take quarterback Derek Lambert here with pick 32 of the third round. We do have Don Barnett as a backup quarterback, but I don't think he could actually do anything should Glenn McCutcheon get hurt. We can develop this guy for a few years and then maybe flip him for a second or third round pick. So we're going to take Derek Lambert, who will have a hidden dev trait. With pick 32 in the fourth round, I'm going to trade it to the Steelers to pick up a fourth round pick for next year and a seventh round pick for this year. Almost everyone else was just offering us fourth round picks next year, so I'll at least get something this season. This guy is probably a reach here with the 14th pick of the fifth round, but I'm going to take defensive back Justin Anthony. The real only reason I am taking him is he is one of the fastest corners in the class. It says he has good speed, elite level jumping. He has B to C awareness, which is pretty solid for a guy projected at the bottom of day 3. I'll show you guys here. He is the last projected player to get drafted, but we're going to take him here in the 5th round, and Justin Anthony will have a hidden dev trait. Wide receiver Brandon Grubbs was projected to go on day 2 of the draft in rounds 2 or 3. We are here with pick 32 in the 6th round, and he is still on the board, which means he would have 100% been a bust in the earlier rounds. I would never have spent a second, third, fourth, or even fifth round pick on this guy. But at the end of the 6th round, I feel like it's not that big of a risk. He has B to D awareness, C deep route, B spectacular catch, F medium route, which isn't great, D catch in traffic, B release. He doesn't have great speed, it says it's solid, but we're going to take him and see if he can fight to make the roster here, and he will be a normal dev trade. I feel like I'm taking a lot of guys that are defensive ends here. I even took a linebacker that I'm going to move over to defensive end, but I'm going to take right in LaMarcus Carson. He has B block shedding, F finesse move, which isn't great obviously, C power move, and C tackle. And then he also has C awareness and B play rec. With a 7th round pick, we're going to go ahead and take that risk. He does have a normal dev trait though. The last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, will be quarterback Josh Gaffney out of East Carolina. Yes, I know I already took a quarterback earlier in the draft. Gaffney will be competing with Dom Barnett to make the roster, but we're going to go ahead and take Gaffney, and he will be a normal dev trade. Safety Kadeem Kitchens comes in as a 73 overall, has a temporary boost up to a 77 overall, though obviously a hidden dev trait. Comes in with 89 speed, 70 zone coverage, 71 tackle, right now has plus 10 to tackle, which is insane, 75 pursuit, 84 play rec. Right now there is plus 12 to play rec, so obviously these ratings are not exactly accurate. Past that, AJ Jackson is a 73 overall, the safety we took in the 2nd round. After that though, I did not draft well for the 2nd and 3rd rounds. Kerry D. Carvalho is a 66 overall, Zach McKinley is a 66 overall, Lambert's a 64 overall, but he was a hidden dev trait. And then Justin Anthony, the corner we took in the 5th round, is a 70 overall. I will take that. Wide receiver Brandon Grubbs is a 66. Carson's a 66 overall right end. And then Josh Gaffney's a 64 overall quarterback. Lambert, you will 150% not be keeping that number on this team, but you will be the 2nd string quarterback and probably get most of the play time throughout the preseason. I highly doubt McCutcheon's going to play at all. He may get a drive. Let's check how the rest of our division drafted. The Cowboys took Harvey Hart, who's a 75 overall linebacker, a 72 overall defensive tackle, a 62 overall outside linebacker, a 70 overall outside linebacker, a 67 overall corner, a 70 overall receiver, and Parker Pearson. I'll be honest, I did not even look at him. He's already 24 years old though. That is not great. I know a lot of my guys were 23. And then they took a 63 overall left tackle. I wanted to take a look at Parker Pearson, see if he's going to be a problem for us. He's a 70 overall with a normal dev trait, 95 speed, 95 acceleration, pretty solid route running. He could develop into a pretty solid receiver. The 1st round pick they took, Harvey Hart out of Texas, is a normal dev trait for them with 75 tackle, 80 hit power, 83 speed. We'll probably be seeing a bit of him. Now we'll take a look at the Commanders. They got a 72 overall receiver and Clyde Harper in the 1st round, a 74 overall safety in the 2nd, a 71 overall defensive tackle, and then a 64 overall middle linebacker, a 68 overall outside linebacker, a 65 overall guard, and a 67 overall receiver in the 7th round. Let's take a look at Clyde Harper though. He is a hidden dev trait out of Oklahoma State, 72 overall, we already said that part. 89 speed. All right, so he's not going to be a burner against us, but he could develop into a pretty solid receiver as well. But with only 89 speed, 77 short route, I don't think he'll be an immediate threat. Now that I've said that, he's probably going to gash us for like 200 yards the first time we play them. But let's see how the Giants drafted. They took a 74 overall right tackle, a 67 overall corner, a 67 overall safety, a 70 overall middle linebacker, a 63 left tackle, a 63 running back, a 68 outside linebacker, and a 63 left tackle. So their best player was by far Keenan Bynes, a right tackle out of Oklahoma, and he will be a normal dev trait for them. There were a few players picked before our pick that I'm really curious to see how good they're going to be, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. With the 3rd pick in the draft, the Vikings took quarterback Bobby Colbert out of Houston. He is a 74 overall, comes in with 92 throw power, not great deep accuracy, and then pretty good medium accuracy and short accuracy for a rookie, 79 awareness. He should develop into a pretty good quarterback. Paul Fulton was one of the receivers I was looking at, and he only comes in as a 73 overall with a normal dev trait, so obviously that would not have been a great 1st round pick. Only 89 speed. I knew that was a problem looking at him, that he was not that fast. Right before our pick, Seattle took Carlos Westbrook, who is only a normal dev trait, so I'm kind of glad they took him and allowed me to take the safety with a hidden dev trait. that will officially wrap up this offseason. In the next video, we will take care of the entire preseason. I will show you guys anyone that I signed before the preseason to compete for other jobs on the team and things like that. Now, I did say after the Super Bowl, and I want to say it again, after this video, this series is going to be a little bit different. We will still be watching some games, but I'm going to be simulating a lot more. I want to get through a lot more seasons before the release of Madden 24. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you guys understand that why this series is going to change. On top of us just being a really good team, I don't think it's much of a rebuild anymore. It's just seeing how many Super Bowls we can end up winning. But hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you next time.